Already the 5-second board is held aloft. Revs begin to rise. Stephen Pickering gets a good start, but it's a great launch from John Wolfe, who is quick off the mark at the wheel of his TVR again. Is he going to get past John Crayston's Lotus, though, as they head round through turn number 1? In fact, John Crayston, I think, is going for the lead here. The lighter Lotus on the brakes heading up towards turn number 1 and in towards the braking area for the banking. Should go through to take up the lead. John Wolfe is in second place, and down to third goes the pole sitter and yesterday's race winner, which is Stephen Pickering. Dean Halsey in the Datsun 240Z is there in 4th place. Phil Otley is 5th, and the white Lotus with the red stripe down the centre, Bill Watt, wraps up the top 6 at the moment, but everybody is safely through the first couple of corners. The speeds begin to build as they head up towards the braking area for Rocket for the first time, and it is John Wolfe that in a straight line has guns the TVR into the lead of the race. Bill Watt, who had been leading, of course, runs out of puff in the little Lotus that little bit quicker. He is down there into, John Crayston runs out of puff that little bit quicker. He is down there into second position, but of course we're now getting to the bottom of the circuit, the twisty part, which favours the Lotus, which is going to be right onto the coattails of John Wolfe again as they head down through the corkscrew on this first lap of the 40 minutes. So it is still John Wolfe that's leading the way. There's the ever-present danger of John Crayston. Stephen Pickering under pressure from the Datsun. Phil Otley with a queue of cars lining up behind him, which includes another Datsun 240Z of Dave Roberts, who had problems yesterday and retired with about 5 laps to go, but he's made a really good start, and having started down in what's something like 15th, 16th position, he is coming through and over the start-finish line, having gained 10 places. Yeah, started 16th, he's up to 10th now, up to 6th now, so that's been a great start for Dave Roberts as for the lead of the race. Nose to tail through the banking goes TVR and Lotus. The Lotus is a little bit quicker coming out, but the pendulum swings in favour of the faster car through this section as they head round through Church. So John Wolfe hangs on to the lead of the race at this stage. And John Crayston will only drop that little bit further adrift now at the wheel of his Series 4 Lotus as they head through the fast section of the track and in towards the braking area for the left and the right flicks again up at Rocket. So TVR from Lotus, Sunbeam Tiger from Datsun, Reliant Scimitar from Lotus, and the Lotus that has now just squeezed its way through into 6th place is not going to be Bill Watt anymore. It looks as though it is the red Lotus Elan in the hands of Jamie Keevil now, who has picked up what would be 6th position. He gained 7 places on the first lap. I think he's gained 3 already on this lap and may well be up to 5th place by the end of it, because he's not that far away from the orange Reliant Scimitar now in the hands of Phil Otley. So they'll head down through the corkscrew. Race leaders will be heading over the start-finish line, still pretty much together. Yeah, Phil Otley still in 5th place at the moment, but here comes Jamie Keevil. He's going to jink out from behind to take the place away as the race leaders head in towards the braking area for the 3rd time up at the banking. So through the right-hander, accelerating their way back up towards Church. John Crayston, subject to where you are on track, is either right onto the coattails of the race-leading TVR or is about, what, a dozen car lengths behind, because that's the kind of amount of elastic that exists between the two of them, where the Elan is much, much better through the twiddly parts, and there's plenty of those on the Anglesey coastal circuit, but the fast section where they are now, heading up towards Rocket, is where John Wolfe has the upper hand. So John Wolfe leading the way. He's on lap number 3, turning his way through Rocket in, then towards Rocket out, and yeah, from being, 10 lengths behind, he's, half a car length behind by the time they head out of Rocket and up towards Peel. So John Wolfe, all down to the good start that he got. He was quick yesterday when we got things underway and propelled the TVR off the grid beautifully well. And Chris Buxton, that's exactly what he did when the lights went out this time through.
Do you think John Wolfe has forgiven you yet for the state you caught him in during our pre-show yesterday?
I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has.
Well, they were very determined, weren't they, to do well, and that's exactly what's going on here. Jonathan Crayston utilising the nimble advantage of the Lotus Elan to chase down the V8 Tuscan. Then Stephen Pickering, the pole starting Sunbeam Tiger, is a little bit further behind. And then you've got the freshly rebuilt Datsun 240Z of Dean Halsey looking to try and improve his position from starting in 6th. But a great effort there from John Wolfe, fending off the advances of the highly, highly experienced Jonathan Crayston. Again, they've been united with their cars for a great many years. Now the V8 is going to stretch his legs a little bit to try and gain what advantage he can before the Elan then utilises his nimble advantage back up into the Rocket.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race last time through went to the number 9 Lotus Elan of Jamie Keevil. 1 minute 20.174 for the car that's come off the back of the grid following his retirement on lap number 17 yesterday, completed 16 laps in the race, but retired on lap number 17, and he's now getting close to gaining another position because he is almost right up onto terms with the 4th place car, which is Dean Halsey's Datsun 240Z, as they head round through Peel. Dean Halsey taking the regular racing line. Jamie Keevil trying it around the outside, but then gives him the inside line as they head down into the corkscrew, and he's made it stick. So through goes Jamie Keevil. The Series 2 Lotus Elan gaining a further place now. The red car with the white stripes right the way down the centre of it, through and ahead of the Datsun. That puts Jamie Keevil up into 4th position, and he's not that far behind the 3rd place car of Stephen Pickering, which is the dark green Sunbeam Tiger. So great early laps from Jamie Keevil. Problems and a spin. That's Donald Laird that's had a spin and a rotation at the wheel of the Series 4 Elan. That is car number 151. But for Jamie Keevil, new fastest lap of the race. He even had an overtake to do on that lap, but a 1 minute 20.088 is still a new fastest lap.
He's ungodly fast in that Lotus Elan. Obviously, you have the benefit of the huge wealth of experience of his dad, Paul, that they used to race together for a number of years. We were mentioning yesterday Paul Keevil building a lovely Jaguarita around the outside, coming through school up towards the Rocket Turn. Goodness me, absolutely. The only thing that can stop Jamie Keevil is Jamie Keevil at that kind of race, blistering pace, and they're going through the shot on the stream are our lead pair. So what's the gap to the lead in now? That's barely 3.5 seconds or so as it was when they came over the line. And Jamie Keevil on an absolute march.
Bill Addison building the E-Type, isn't it?
Bill Addison, beg your pardon.
Yeah. So now that stricken Lotus has not moved, I'm afraid to say, and it is pretty close to the edge of the track and right at the point where the cars are going to be wanting to get to that side of it. It's Rocket Out, I think, is where the problem has occurred. I think he's come out of Rocket Out and the car's spun from the left-hand side of the circuit to the inside. Difficult to tell from what we are seeing. So we'll have to wait and see as to whether that has just been covered by localised yellows and the marshals will deal with it or not, as the case may be. For the lead of the race, though, we still have TVR just ahead of Lotus. Marshals on hand to assist the Lotus. The good thing is, isn't it, is that not only have we got Donald Laird helping, but a couple of marshals helping. Lotus is a light car, so they should be able to get it out of harm's way.
They'll almost be able to lift it and put it in their pocket. But Code 60 has been thrown, which is, again, the safest course of action with marshals on the track. You never, ever compromise the safety of everybody. Look at John Grayson already looking to try and get past John Wolf, heading down towards, that's coming through school. And it looks like there's a problem for Dean Halsey, is there?
No, I think that Dean Halsey and Bill Watt had seen the Code 60, but I don't think that the Lotus 7 of Niall Sinclair had seen it, and is now scratching his head as to what needs to happen. And also, I don't think David MacDonald saw it either, so they came barrelling up whilst others were already spotted and we're dealing with the Code 60 flags.
Oh,
so
Jamie Keevil, where are you going?
Code 60's back out already. Yeah, so we're back to green flag already, and Jamie Keevil seized the opportunity, didn't he? As soon as the Code 60s were in, it was like flicking a switch. Keevil was back on it again and has gained a place already and is now looking to try and hunt down John Wolf for the lead of the race, having come off the back of the grid.
That caught me out as well. So a last to first challenge for Jamie Keevil. Well, I mean, he's so quick. He puts that car in places where you just would not imagine that there would be enough pace to put that mighty Elan, even kicking a bit of grass just for a bit of show. And there we go. They're trying to get alongside the Tuscan, and the V8 monster does manage to snarl its way through towards turn 1, does manage to fend off the advances of now the pair of Lotus Elans on its tail. And Jamie Keevil, again, he's been very successful on the outside line of pretty much everywhere today. Hoping not to repeat whatever maladies hit the car yesterday. There's the Sunbeam Tiger, Stephen Pickering chasing on now. This is where the Sunbeam should also start to stretch its legs a little bit. Jamie Keevil, very heavy right foot in that car, but again, there goes the Tuscan. Utilises what advantage it can through school up towards Rocket Inn, and then just the light nimbleness of that Lotus Elan said, yeah, excuse me, don't mind me, I'm going to pinch the lead off you, sir. Yeah,
so up the inside of John Wolf he goes in towards Rocket. So Jamie Keevil from last place on the grid heads up to first place in the order just before the pit window opens as well, so that could be quite important. John Wolf might lose second place here as John Crayston at the wheel of his Lotus goes through. So it's a Lotus Elan 1-2, the erstwhile race leading TVR Tuscan V8 in the hands of John Wolf, now down into third position. John will hand the car over to Dave Thompson for part 2 of the race. Those two have been sharing cars in the Classic Sports Car Club for a very, very good number of years, but all in the top 4 are continuing around for a further lap. So Keevil leads, Crayston second, John Wolf third, Stephen Pickering fourth, Dean Halsey continues around as he sits there in 5th place, as does the 6th place car of Bill Watt. The pit window has just opened though, so might be some cars towards the tail end of the field that would be able to pit on this lap. So the leading quartet into and out of the banking, into the pit lane have come one car. That's Mike Stevenson's Datsun 240Z that is in. That was a very quick stop if that was a mandatory pit stop. So into the pits, out of the car, and already now trundling his way back down pit road as back up into second in a straight line. The extra grunt of the V8 Tuscan tells, and John Wolf is back through and ahead of John Crayston. So the number 13 Tuscan through Rocket, back ahead of the number 67 Lotus Elan Series 4, whilst the Series 2 in the hands of Jamie Keevil still leads the way. Keevil also with the fastest lap of the race. Remember, the only car that took the start in this race that has an extra time penalty to spend in the pit lane, and that's an extra 30 seconds, is the car that's currently in 4th position, which is the dark green Sunbeam Tiger in the hands of Stephen Pickering, who's been a race winner, and I think here before at Anglesey he's been a race winner. He's certainly been a race winner, not just this season and not just yesterday. So he sits there in what is going to be 3rd position, and the reason he's into 3rd is because up into the pit lane has come Jamie Keevil. So Jamie Keevil dives for the pit lane. There's another car that's in the pit lane as well, which is Steve Chapman at the wheel of his almost spearmint coloured Triumph TR4. We've seen Steve racing a TR4 SLR in the past as well, a very rare beast, the SLR TR4. SLR building a couple of slick-bodied cars, not just for Triumph, but also for Morgan as well. And then also into the pit lane comes the Lotus 7 Series 4 in as well. So that is going to be Niall Sinclair is in his Gulf liveried machine. Whilst out on track, race continues, and new fastest lap of the race last time through. So John Wolf has not only picked up the lead of the race whilst Jamie Keevil has pitted, he's also posted the fastest lap of the race. 1:20.038 is the new fastest lap of the race. That is 50 thousandths of a second quicker than Jamie Keevil could muster. So he's only just chipped away at that fastest lap of the race, but it is a new fastest lap last time through for John Wolf as he descends down through the corkscrew. John Crayston will be in 2nd. Stephen Pickering's Sunbeam will be up to 3rd. Dean Halsey's Datsun will be there in 4th now. Bill Watt in the number 60 car will be up to 5th. And Phil Otley at the wheel of the orange Reliant Scimitar will wrap up the top 6 as things currently stand. Fantastic noise from that glorious engine that sits underneath the bonnet of the Reliant Scimitar. Into the pit lane comes the orange TR4 of David Bailey. So he's conducted his pit stop and is heading back out. And another good little Lotus fight towards the tail end of the field as well. That is going to be David Shackleton's light blue car. He's got the white Lotus of Brian Cowan that sits behind. And that will be for 11th and 12th positions as things stand. And both of those opting to come into the pits at exactly the same lap as well. So they both trundle their way in towards the Anglesey pit lane to serve their mandatory pit stop, which will mean a jump out of the car, close the door, open the car back in, and off you go. Now for John Crayston, he's not as yet completed his pit stop. He is only a second shy of the TVR that is still in the hands of John Wolf. And John Wolf, relative to Dave Thompson, John Wolf slightly the quicker of the two, not by much. So John Wolf is going to keep pressing on. They'll usually equalise the amount of driving time, so probably another 6 minutes or so before we see that race-leading TVR dive its way into the pit lane. David MacDonald, who's completed his pit stop, is coming under pressure from the number 74 Datsun, and that got close there, but no opportunity to squeeze its way through for Dave Roberts. Just coming up towards the conclusion of the lap, and that is over the start-finish line absolutely together for 7th and 8th place. The Datsun, I think, has gone through though at turn 1. Yeah, through goes Dave Roberts ahead of David MacDonald. So that's place gained, and now up to 7th place for the Datsun 240Z. Triumph TR6 of David MacDonald down a position, and we'll look to see whether he can cling onto the coattails of the car that's just taken the place away from him. So down to 8th has gone the TR6. Speeds build again as they head past the little kink and then start to make their way uphill in towards the braking area for Rocket In. Fastest lap of the race is swinging around as well, because last time through, Jamie Keevil has just posted the fastest lap that we've seen, 1 minute 19.888. 1 minute 19.888 from Jamie Keevil. Still a bit more to come from that Lotus as well, because Jamie Keevil, prior to his retirement yesterday, was lapping in the 1 minute 17s. And the fastest lap of yesterday's race was done by a driver that didn't make the start today, Jeff Beale, who was down into the 1 minute 16s yesterday. So we're still maybe 2 or 3 seconds away from the pace that these cars were doing 24 hours ago. So David MacDonald hand aloft. Into the pit lane comes the Triumph TR6. So that will be to give way to Bailey Frost, who'll take over that car. And no doubt try and resume the battle that he was having with Dave Roberts, who has stayed out on that lap. Still another 9 minutes or so of the pit window, so there's no rush to get into the pits as yet. The leading car that has pitted will be Jamie Keevil, who is down in 10th place currently. As David MacDonald comes to a halt, out he jumps, in jumps Bailey Frost. Adjust the seat belts, make sure that the seat belts go over the hands device, so they have to go over the top of the hands device. Scrutineers and the officials down there will be checking to ensure that the process and the procedure is followed appropriately. Once the seat belts are as good as done up, engine can fire and head out onto track. So quick stop there. David MacDonald giving way to Bailey Frost. So that's the first of our pit stoppers where there's a driver change involved. The only other pit stopping car we will have now that still remains in the race where a driver change is involved is when the TVR comes in that leads the race, when John Wolfe gives way to Dave Thompson. Other than that, every other car that's still running is solo driven. Now Dave Roberts, that's another place gain now. That's up to 6th place now for the Datsun 240Z. Goes through and past the Reliance Scimitar of Phil Otley. Phil into the pit lane this time through, so that might have been why he made it reasonably easy for Dave Roberts to squeeze his way past at the wheel of the Datsun, but still giving up a place on track. And a big spin for Steve Chapman at the wheel of the Triumph TR4. Now that looks as though it's potentially at the top of the hill somewhere. Let's have a look. Is that the inside of the hairpin? No, it's at the top of the hill somewhere. That's going up towards Peel, I think he's had the spin. Rocket Out, it would have been, yeah. So had a spin going into Rocket and rotated on the way of Rocket Out. So we'll get going again in the spearmint-coloured car. No harm done for Steve Chapman. Car that was circulating in 14th position. Has probably dropped to 15th, I would have thought, as a result of that, because I think the red Datsun would have gone through in the hands of Mike Stevenson. Here comes Mike over the start-finish line now. And, yeah, Steve Chapman will just about to appear round through the final corner at the wheel of the Spearmint TR. Yeah, so car number 15 now rather conveniently running in 15th position. Now the race leading advantage is still not a great deal. Here comes the TVR over the start-finish line. Now, John Wolfe still leading the way. Traffic to deal with is Bailey Frost, who's only just taken over the Triumph TR6. And Bailey sees him coming, moves out of harm's way at turn number 1, so to allow the TVR to go through. The lead advantage, which is 1.6 seconds, and we can hand you downstairs to Chris Buxton, who's managed to catch up with the driver in the pit lane.
We have David MacDonald, half of the number 78 driver pairing, Bailey Frost out there at the moment. Good to see you again, Mr. MacDonald.
Thank you very much.
How's the car running?
The car's going excellently. Having changed the diff last night, because the diff was making awful noises last night. So we had a late one, but it's going well today, yeah, going well.
So you finished in 13th from 14th last time around. A little bit further up the field?
We finished 11th on the road, but Grandad incurred a 1-minute penalty for exceeding the speed limit in the pit lane, yeah. So we made up a few places on the opening lap. So we can only hope for the best. We're here to enjoy ourselves. And what a great track this is. Absolutely fabulous.
It must suit the Triumph actually quite well. And
both the technical section up the hill and on the open section down the bottom here, yeah. It's very good, yeah.
We always enjoy your company here at the CSCC. Wonderful to see you again. Thank you very much, David MacDonald. So lots of racing still to come. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, we've still got 20 minutes and a bit of change of the race still to go. We've still got several cars that need to pit. We have just seen a further Triumph TR4 come in and conduct its pit stop. So that is another car that will just be making its way out on the track now. That's Chris Edwards, car number 121, that was up into 7th position. We've also got the 4th place car of Bill Watt in the pit lane somewhere at the moment. So there is Chris Edwards just heading up towards the banking now, the wheel of the almost British Racing green, isn't it? Triumph TR4. Fantastic sort of dark metallic green colour for Chris Edwards. And John Crayston, who's 2nd in the race, big problem for him heading out of Church Corner. So that is right the way up towards the tyre barrier where he's parking the car. And that is a retirement, I'm afraid to say, for the car that was running in 2nd position. No obvious signs of smoke or damage to the car, but he did the right thing, John Crayston. He clearly knew something was amiss with the car and instantly pulled the car well and truly out of harm's way on the exit of Church. So I'm afraid the driver that finished 2nd in yesterday's race and was running 2nd on the road here is out of this race, I'm afraid to say. Now, as for the cars that have pitted, at the moment we should still see Jamie Keevil as the first of those in the order of this race currently that has pitted. Any cars that are ahead of him are still in the process of conducting their pit stop, one of which is Bill Watt, who is just threading his way back out onto circuit now at the wheel of the little Lotus Elan. But for John Wolfe, who leads, for Stephen Pickering, who's 2nd, for John Crayston, who's just retired, all 3 of those cars were still as yet to pit, and I don't think as yet we've seen Niall Sinclair in at the wheel of the Lotus 7. It's not suggesting he's been into the pit lane, but I thought I'd seen that car in, to be honest. But in fact, I think he's retired, isn't he? Yeah, so Niall's retired, so that'll be why he's not come in. So it's only 1st and 2nd place really in the race now that need to dive for the pit lane at some point. So up towards Rocket in goes our race leader. Down through the corkscrew come some of the cars in the middle order, but for John Wolfe we are past the halfway point of this race now, and surely not that much longer before he comes in to hand the car over to Dave Thompson. And they are at the moment only 45 seconds ahead of Jamie Keevil. So Jamie Keevil is the first of the cars that has pitted, so John Wolfe giving way to Dave Thompson. That car needs to come into the pit lane, which it's doing this time through, conduct its driver change and get back out all within 45 seconds and get back to full race pace. So I think Jamie Keevil is probably going to pick up the lead of the race potentially here. So into the pit lane comes our race leader. TVR will come to a halt now. Door opens. As for Jamie Keevil, he will just be turning his way round through the corkscrew, I would have thought, in a few moments' time. Dave Thompson is being strapped into the TVR. Seatbelts being tightened up by Martin Stackpole, who is reaching through the passenger side, by John Wolfe, who's just vacated the driver's seat. And Jamie Keevil is just coming out of the final corner. The door closes on the TVR. It gets itself rolling down pit lane. This is going to be close for the lead of the race. By the time they head out of turn 1, I think Jamie Keevil might just pick up the lead of the race. And as they come out through turn number 1, watch out for the Lotus. There it is. Where is the TVR? There it is, just coming out of the pit lane. So Jamie Keevil will pick up the lead of the race. And the TVR Tuscan V8 that is now in the hands of Dave Thompson is down into 2nd position. Now, Dave is going to take a lap or two to fully understand what the car is doing today. So he's not quite as quick, not by much, but not quite as quick as John Wolfe. So this is good for Jamie Keevil, particularly bearing in mind, of course, he retired in yesterday's race. He completed 15 laps, retired on lap number 16, one of a couple of retirees we had yesterday, both of whom have been able to fix their cars and get back out today for the race. Little snatch brake on the unloaded wheel as he went up towards Rocket, no harm done there. But for Jamie Keevil, he is going to enjoy, what, 4, 5, 6 second lead maybe by the end of this lap. We'll run you down through the full order very shortly because the last pit stop or so is just taking place, including Stephen Pickering, who at the wheel of his Sunbeam Tiger has just completed his pit stop. So I think he will drop down into 3rd position ultimately. But let's, before we run down through the order, let's hand you back downstairs to Chris Buxton in the pit lane.
A man we spoke to in the pre-race show, John Wolfe, handing the car over to Dave Thompson. Wow, what a run. You were determined to do well this event, and you qualified 8th initially, and you did say that you had a bit of trouble during qualifying. You came home 3rd, and you were leading for quite a while.
Yeah, I think it's a great circuit for that. I think the challenge, of course, is Jamie in the Elan, and you've got to just try and break away from everyone else. I mean, we hoped to have beaten everyone else yesterday, bar the Elan and perhaps the very fast Lotus. But we ended up 3rd yesterday, which we were delighted with. If we can do the same today, we'll be delighted again. Really, really good fun.
Great stuff. And you've, as you were just saying to me before we came on air, you raced with Keevil Senior for a number of years, and you know, youngster doing pretty well. But the Tuscan's got a lot of legs to give, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I raced with Paul in the 1990s when he raced that same car in the 750 Motor Club when I was racing a Triumph Spitfire. So I sort of cut my teeth with Triumph Spitfire, Triumph GT6. So this is my 33rd year, consecutive year of racing. I think it's my 365th race start today. So just keep it going.
Good man. So we very much look forward to the progress of the 13 car. Thank you very much, John Wolf. And back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, just as the pit window closes, so the pit window has now fully closed. Just to confirm that, Jamie Keevil leads, the number 19 Lotus leads. We've lost another car, I'm afraid to say, whilst we were chatting to John Wolf down there, and that is Chris Edwards, who has now retired his Triumph TR4 out on the circuit. Rather forlorn sight of the Triumph TR4. We've lost another one as well, I'm afraid to say, and it's another Triumph. They're dropping like flies at the moment. We've lost the orange car of Dave Bailey just at the fast kink before they head up towards Rocket. So there's a couple of cars that have come to a halt out there on track, which means that others now will be able to pick up the places. So just to confirm, the top 6 the way things currently are is that number 9 Jamie Keevil leads the way. Second place is number 13, which is Dave Thompson. In third place is the Datsun, the number 240 car of Dean Halsey. Fourth place is another Datsun, number 74, Dave Roberts, who was a retiree yesterday and is now off the back of the grid to fourth place. Fifth place is 341, the Reliant Scimitar GTE, the SE5 variant of Phil Ockley. And Stephen Pickering, not quite sure what happened to him in the pit stops, but the number 6 Sunbeam Tiger has lost out quite significantly and is now down into 6th position. 7th place is number 60 Bill Watt. 8th place is number 78, which is Bailey Frost. 9th place now is number 331, which is Brian Cowan, and completed the top 10 now as a result of retirees is car number 126, which is David Shackleton's light blue Lotus Elan. So that gives you the order of the top 10. Dean Halsey at the wheel of the Datsun trying to thread his way through and past a little bit of traffic. That'll be Brian Cowan's car that he's looking to try and place a lap on as he comes down through the corkscrew. He's not going to be able to do it through the corkscrew, so he'll have to wait until they head over the start-finish line to try and pick his way through and past those. And for Dean Halsey, he's fairly lonely, really. He's got that back marker that he wants to deal with, but he's 12 seconds adrift of Dave Thompson's TVR, but is substantively ahead of Dave Roberts, 15 seconds ahead of Dave Roberts, so he's in no man's land really at the moment. Dean Halsey, a fairly lonely third place, with the only thing he's really got to concentrate on is trying to thread his way through and past the back markers.
Indeed, which is again a problem that Jamie Keevil, as we look at the number 9 on the stream once again, is a problem he's very accustomed to. So just catching my breath after legging it up the stairs again. But yeah, Jamie Keevil, I mean, that car is just absolutely bulletproof. How he does it, only he knows.
Yeah, it's had a few issues over the years, Jamie Keevil's car. It's only 3.4 seconds ahead of Dave Thompson, who looks to have wound him in a little bit on this lap. Dave Thompson last time through the TVR, 1 minute 21.3. Jamie Keevil, 1 minute 22.2, almost a 1 minute 22.3. So the TVR in second was a full second quicker than Jamie Keevil. So Jamie Keevil maybe will respond to that now and get his foot back down again. So through they go. 1 minute 22.1 from Jamie Keevil, 1 minute 20.8 from Dave Thompson. So the gap is down to 2.1 seconds between the pair of them. So it's not fully formed as yet, the fight, but Dave Thompson is pushing hard here for the overall race win. It's how much Jamie Keevil has in reserve that might have the question mark over it.
Absolutely, of course, you know, the number 13 car having just changed hands, John Wolf starting the car, so fresh legs comparatively speaking in the TVR Tuscan, and you know, a car that Dave Thompson has driven many times. You know, John Wolf was saying he started many races and has shared many races with Dave Thompson as well in several different cars. As we mentioned in the pre-show, they had a TVR Grand Tourer before this one.
Still got the Grand Tourer.
They still have the Grand Tourer, yeah, beg your pardon. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's such again, I always admire the Tuscans. It's such a huge amount of power contained in a very small package. It's almost like they built the engine first and then realised they hadn't actually put anywhere for the driver, so I had to kind of glue on a seat. That's always kind of how I think about the Tuscan. It's such a tiny wheelbase, but that provides challenges as well, because if the tail begins to let go when there's a lot of horses
in that V8 engine, so the tail can get misbehaved. It's really, really hard to catch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked the shape of the Tuscan and the noise of it, and the Griff as well, to be absolutely fair, the TVR Griffith as well. So, yeah, fantastic to see them out there. Now, what's happened to lead advantage? Well, it's grown, and Jamie Keevil did have something in reserve, because on that lap, he has just posted the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 17.921, 1 minute 17.921. So he'd eased off to the tune of 3 or 4 seconds, realised he was getting caught, puts his foot back down again. All of a sudden, the gap from being, 1 and a bit seconds is up to 5.
He's teasing the Tuscan, look. He's having a bit of fun out there, but again, probably had to back off a little bit. It didn't look like Jamie Keevil had traffic. I would imagine he's just making sure that the brakes and the tyres are where they need to be. A common theme here has been certainly heat. A number of times cars have come into the pit lane and there's just steam and smoke. Not smoke, as I said, it's not like it's on fire, but it's just the amount of heat soak there is in the tyres, even in these club cars. It's absolutely pouring out, and how many times have we spoken to drivers and they're absolutely bathed in sweat? Because, again, we really can't underestimate, it is very warm in the cockpit of the cars. Even the Mag 7s and the Lotus 7 Stars, such as Niall Sinclair's car there, they still feel pretty warm, even in an open-top car.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so much ventilation you can have as well before you create too much drag as well. So, Phil Otley, for instance, who was under pressure from the car that's right in his wheel checks, which is Niall Sinclair. He's only got a little slider on the Perspex window, and that's about it. That's about the only ventilation that he's got. Stephen Pickering picking his way through traffic at the wheel of the Sunbeam Sunbeam Tiger, and needs to as well, because the number 60 Lotus of Bill Watt is within a couple of car lengths of him as they head up towards Rocket In and Rocket Out this time through, and this is 4th position as well. So Stephen Pickering is running in 5th position at the wheel of car number 6. Bill Watt, the white Lotus with the red stripe all the way down the centre of it, long time Classic Sports Car Club racer, is reeling him in and has reeled him into a very good degree over the course of the last lap. Bill Watt was about nearly a full second quicker than Stephen Pickering, so maybe the big old Sunbeam Tiger now, the tyres feeling it. I suspect maybe the brakes feeling it a bit as well.
I would imagine so, as Bill Watt nearly nudging the back of the V8 powered Sunbeam Tiger. So again, another V8 car in the company of a Lotus Elan, although a bit closer than the two up front. Although saying that, last time around Jamie Keevil backed off again, didn't he? He's probably caught traffic there. Or again, he's just teasing the Tuscan behind him. The Thompson Tuscan behind. There's a sentence I'll only trip over if I say that too many times. But Stephen Pickering, he's used to battling cars. As we mentioned yesterday, he was in a fabulous scrap, a 5-way car scrap at Donington last year for the win of the race overall, which didn't quite go the Sunbeam's way, but he's very much used to battling either defensively or, as he is in this case, or as he was in Donington, having to really fight and get the Tiger further up the field. But even still, Stephen Pickering started second this time around. Bear in mind, he had a additional 30, I beg your pardon, Stephen Pickering was the pole man, wasn't he? But he had 30 seconds additional to his time because of the win yesterday. He will if the race finished now, he'd be about, about a minute-ish behind Jamie Keevil, which in itself was nothing to be too shy about, because Keevil, as we know, is incredibly fast. But yeah, by this point, I would imagine the tyres are feeling as somewhat past their best. They probably wouldn't get through an MOT.
So Stephen Pickering still pushing hard, Bill Watt still shadowing him all of the time. JV Keevil not really getting away either from Dave Thompson for the lead of the race. There's only 2.7 seconds between that pair, as we've got 6.5 minutes of the race still to go. Bill Watt looking to see whether he can unlock the door to work his way through into 5th position. Nothing doing as they come out of the banking up towards Church, where there's a bit of traffic that Stephen Pickering will need to deal with. That will be the car of Steve Chapman, the almost spearmint coloured Triumph TR4 will be the next one that they'll catch, and I don't think Stephen Pickering's going to clear that car, is he, before Rocket potentially. Let's just have a quick look. They head up in towards the braking area for Rocket. Steve Chapman quite rightly takes his main line in towards Rocket. Stephen Pickering does eventually get through. Does Bill Watt follow through? Yes, he does. He breaks that a little bit later, so scrap is still on for 5th and 6th place. The difficulty is for Bill Watt is that every time he gets close, the pendulum swings back in favour of the Sunbeam Tiger, because there's a faster section that's coming up. So as they head round through Peel, this is the bit that favours the Lotus, doesn't it? Down through the corkscrew, but as soon as they get to the bottom of the corkscrew, then we get to a faster section of it, and the gap all of a sudden opens up again.
Absolutely, but Bill Watt's not falling too far behind the Sunbeam Tiger at any given stage. So
He gets close, but never quite in enough time to challenge for that position, although literally as those words leave my lips, then has a look on the inside line at that final turn. I can't really see that that's ever going to work. If he had a few more horses under the right foot, possibly, but with the power deficit between those two cars, that run through that final corner, I don't really see going the Lotus's way. It wouldn't be the first time they've been proven wrong.
Well, it's exactly like, you know, this is the swinging 60s, exactly what happened in sports car racing and in the British Saloon Car Championship, as it was called back in the 1960s, you know, where you had big V8 engine cars, you know, whether it be in the British Saloon Car Championship, the likes of the Ford Falcon and the Mustangs fighting against things like the Minis and the Lotus Cortinas. And, you know, it was the same in sports car racing, where you had the big Sunbeams, which, you know, raced at Le Mans as well, and places like that, so fighting away with the lighter and more nimble cars, of which Lotus raced at Le Mans, not with the Elan, but with the 11 and stuff like that. So, you know, very identical to what happened back in period, and that's why it's always good to see these swings and these roundabouts. But over the course of the lap here at Anglesey, of which the coastal circuit is 1.55 miles, then they're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, indeed, and it gives us the wonderful spectacle of how these cars, again, they wouldn't, exactly as you say, this is how they behaved in period, and they still are behaving this way, giving us such a thrilling race as they come over the line once again. Still the Sunbeam Tiger, Stephen Pickering, hanging on to that position, which is now 5th place, still being chased by the retired airline pilot of Bill Watt. So not long left now. It's going to be a case of who makes that all-crucial mistake at the wrong time.
Yeah, just having a quick look at what's going on elsewhere down through the field. I've just seen the number 126 car of David Shackleton getting attacked and passed by Steve Chapman's car. That will not be 4th position. The Spearmint Triumph TR4 is a lap adrift of that light blue Lotus, so that was not 4th position. 3.5 minutes to go. Is there anything else that Bill Watt can throw at Stephen Pickering is the big question, because he's been rather frustratingly bottled up behind for quite some time. He runs a little bit wide there and misses a gear, does Bill Watt, though, coming out of Rocket. So a split-second loss, not much, but it's another few tenths loss there for Bill Watt, so he's got to work even harder now to try and close up the gap. And yeah, 3 minutes to go. I'm not sure there's much else that Bill can do at this stage, unless Stephen Pickering makes a mistake.
Yeah, that's what it's going to rely on, I think, to change the order of these two. Yeah, Bill Watt just making that tiny mistake, but at least it was at the beginning of the section where the Elan is strong, so he had the rest of that mountain section to then recover the gap, which he's near as damn it done. He's now still in the tyre tracks of the Sunbeam. It will take a mistake from Stephen Pickering, I would think, for those two to swap around. But with 2.5 minutes to go, still positions to be fought for, even if it's down to who doesn't make a mistake. And Jamie Keevil, yeah, he's decided to finish toying with the Tuscan and has now built that gap up to what was last time 8 seconds. He's just come over the line, and the Tuscan's now coming through the final corner. We'll see what the gap is this time around, and it is 10.9 seconds, so 2 seconds to the Elan's advantage. Yes, I think Jamie Keevill's having quite a bit of fun out there.
Yeah, I think Jamie Keevil let Dave Thompson get close, and then we'll then just press the point and say, well, okay, you might be able to catch, but now I'm going to really get back on it again. Those few laps and the gap opened up, and Dave hasn't got another response now, really. Has Bill Watt got another response to Stephen Pickering? Well, he gets closer to him again. They'll come round through Peel. This is a car length between the tail end of the Sunbeam Tiger and the number 60 Lotus Elan, as they still continue to squabble over who wants to be 5th and who wants to be 6th in this race. But despite the fact he's been in ever-present danger, Bill Watt, there's been no real opportunity to challenge. He takes a very different line heading in towards the final corner compared to Stephen Pickering, but Stephen Pickering guns the car coming out of the last corner, heads up towards turn 1, and is still going to have just enough of an advantage. This is the best battle that we've got throughout the whole field at the moment, because of course any other battles that we've had have largely evaporated over the course of the last 10 minutes or so. So we'll keep concentrating on what's going on between Stephen Pickering and Bill Watt, because there's only another 60 seconds to go.
And Jamie Keevill's just crossed the line, so the final lap has now begun for the race leaders, as again we still focus on the stream of this great battle for 5th position. Bill Watt has always taken that really, really tight line through that final corner, maximising as best he can the nimble advantage. Oh, and the back markers have put Stephen Pickering off a little bit. So that's allowed Bill Watt to close right back in before they get to that section. Is this the mistake that Bill Watt has been trying to pressure all race long?
Yeah, it worked well from there. Mike Stevenson moved out of the way, as did the little Lotus 7 of Niall Sinclair, and now Bill Watt is trying to get some sort of overlap as they head up towards Peel. The door is just about open. He prizes it open a little bit more. Stephen Pickering is a bit quicker though coming out of Peel, and will just have the nose of the Sunbeam Tiger ahead as they head down in towards the corkscrew for what will be the penultimate time. So through the final aspect of the corkscrew and up towards the final corner. That was probably the best opportunity for Bill Watt, but he couldn't quite seize it. The door is still open almost, and they just about nearly overlap as they come out of the final corner and head on to what will be their last lap of the race. And as they head on to their last lap of the race, Jamie Keevil is about to take the checkered flag as he heads round through the final corner for the last time. Win in the Adams and Page Swinging 60s Group 2 aspect of the race is going to go the way of Jamie Keevil. He takes the checkered flag. David MacDonald and Bailey Sharp's car comes through to take the checkered flag. That will be classified in 7th place, a lap adrift. Then we'll see David Shackleton over the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. He will be classified down in 9th place. Here comes the TVR. Thumbs up off the pit wall for Dave Thompson and John Wolfe. They finished 2nd overall in the race. 3rd overall in the race should be Dean Halsey at the wheel of the Datsun 240Z. He should be through to finish in 3rd position in the race. And then we await the arrival of the 4th place car, which should be Phil Otley, should come through and finish in 4th place at the wheel of the orange Reliant Scimitar. But what of Stephen Pickering and Bill Watt, I hear you ask? Well, they were still in the same order when they disappeared out of view towards the top section of the circuit. They will still be in the same order as they head down in towards the final section of the circuit as well, because here comes Stephen Pickering now down through the corkscrew, still shadowed as he has been for the last 20 minutes or so by Bill Watt, but he could never quite manage to unpick 5th place from the grasp of Stephen Pickering. So Phil Otley finishes 4th, Steve Pickering 5th, Bill Watt there in 6th position. And just to say, the win in the Advantage Motorsport Future Classic 70s section of the race goes to the way of car number 52, which is Mike Stevenson, who is going to be the winner of that particular one. So Jamie Keevil making his way round on the slowing down lap. Big old wave from Jamie Keevil, arm out of the door, and he has done exactly what he wanted to do. He wins this race, and from the very, very back of the grid as a result of his retirement from yesterday's race. So Jamie Keevil making his way in towards the Parc Ferme area, where Chris Buxton will be ready to grab a word with him very, very shortly indeed. So, as we see the Swinging 60s cars and the Future Classic cars from the 1970s group leave the circuit, we should be able to confirm the results with you very, very shortly indeed before we head to our next of our races, which will be coming up, which is going to be the Coord Sport Tin Tops is going to be next up. So to confirm the results, Jamie Keevil takes the win with John Wolfe and Dave Thompson in 2nd place. Dean Halsey was there in 3rd. Phil Otley, Stephen Pickering and Bill Watt wrap up the top 6, with David MacDonald and Bailey Frost finishing in 7th place. 8th place goes away of Brian Cowan. 9th place was David Shackleton, and Mike Stevenson completes the top 10. Just outside of the top 10, Steve Chapman, who had a spin, finishes in 11th place. Dave Roberts in 12th place, and then retirements for the likes of Chris Edwards, Dave Bailey, John Crayston, and very sadly, early on in the race, Donald Laird and Kieran Bailey's shared car also retired. And that gives you the results for the combined Adams and Page Swinging 60s Group 2 in the Advantage Motorsport Future Classics 1970s Group. So Coord Sport Tin Tops are up. I know James Wilson, one of our regular Tin Tops racers, will be watching this one on the live stream. And if you've not as yet subscribed to the YouTube channel for Alpha Live, do subscribe to us. Please, please, please subscribe to us. We're trying to hit 26,000 followers by the end of the day if we can. We're getting closer and closer and closer to it all of the time. So yeah, if you're not a follower of Alpha Live on YouTube and you are watching it, or you want to follow us when you get home, just click on subscribe. So with that, let's hand you downstairs again to Chris Buxton and some of the drivers.
Here in winner's circle, as the drivers leave the field, we've got the number 9 of Jamie Keevil. Is absolutely, well, bulletproof this time, I should say. Lotus Elan. he's off to have a chat with somebody else. Jamie Keevil's leaving us. Well, hopefully Jamie will catch up with us, so we will have a chat with Dave Thompson as he gets his lid off. We spoke to one half of the number 13 team, and the rain has finally arrived. It's picked its moment. You're probably glad you've missed the rain then, in which case, well, what a result.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we were quite taken aback that we got 3rd yesterday. That was unexpected when we started from 8th. starting from third, we've made up another place. It was hard work, but it was good. It was good. Just couldn't keep up with Jamie, though. Just cooked the tyres trying to keep up with him. And just was getting the right signals from the pit board telling me how far number 3 was behind. So we just maintained distance, stroked it home.
Yeah, we did see the gap kind of ebb and flow between you and Jamie. We did wonder whether it was Jamie teasing you a little bit. So a bit of both columns, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It felt like he was sort of, come on if you think you're hard enough, you know. But it was good. It was good to have a go anyway.
Great stuff. Well, congratulations on the podium result. We very much look forward to seeing the Tuscan. Will we see the Grand Tourer later in the year?
Hopefully, it's been a bit of a long engine build, so we're still without a power plant. But as soon as we get that, we'll be back with 2 cars per race.
Beautiful. Excellent. Cannot wait for that. Thank you very much, Dave Thompson. Jamie Keevil has returned, so let's have a chat with our, well, frankly, dominant race winner. But I see that look on your face, Mr. Keevil. How'd you do it? Again, starting last.
It's all the car. It's nothing to do with me, it's the car. Yeah, a bit better than the last time we spoke, wasn't it? Yeah, the car's going well. We had a bit of an issue yesterday with the wheel kind of half falling off. So I managed to fix that today. Just trying to keep it sensible, really. And yeah, car was really quick. Pace was in the car, so just had to keep it on the road, make sure it finished this time, and it did. So all good. Happy campers.
Didn't you have the same problem at Snetterton, although it was a little bit more violent at Snetterton?
Same wheel, different cause, but same result. Yeah, wheels flying off. So I was a bit nervous today of the same happening again, but we got through it. So yeah, all good.
And your relentless teasing of the Tuscan.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was trying to go slowly to save the car for Spa, and then I saw him behind me. I thought, oh yeah. I don't want to get overtaken, so I sped up a bit. But I wasn't teasing him, I promise. I was just trying to save the car a little bit, make sure the wheels didn't fall off again. So, apologies.
Well, take it as you will, but brilliant win. Well done. I mean, absolutely flawless victory from the tail end of the field. The only thing that can stop you is you, it would seem. But another fine win. Thank you very well. The car pass out, perhaps. Well done, Jamie Keevil. It's always a pleasure to have a chat to you. Let's have a quick chat with Dean Halsey. Now, the car was rebuilt after a horrendous crash at Thruxton last time out. And I'm sure this man is delighted to be on the podium. Our rebuilt car, and look at you now.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it's been good. My friends over there helped me. And Phil drives a safety car. He did all the body work. And we were still working on it Friday morning till 12 o'clock. A little bit of testing, 1 or 2 sessions, but I'm pleased with this. Looking at the company I'm in, it's about the best I could do without one of them having trouble, and I don't really want that. So yeah, wonderful.
I mean, the fans spinning around, so you clearly pushed this quite hard.
Yeah. She was moving around a bit, but I was trying to not move around too much, because the more I was moving around, the more it was wanting to go more. So I was cooling and then pushing and cooling and pushing. I just hope I'm all right on the code. I think a code 60 come out, and I didn't even know, so there could be an issue.
There was a few kind of misunderstandings with that code 60, so hopefully it doesn't deny you. But I mean, even still, other than the fly collection, it looks absolutely immaculate. So yeah, your boys have done well. Great stuff. Thank you very much, and congratulations again, Dean Halsey. Having horrendous trouble last time out, and seeing that off well with a podium. Next time out, it is the Cohort Sport Tin Tops. Next race coming right up.